Welcome, everyone. I'm here with Simona Lowen. Simona has been a long-time frequent contributor and member to the Institute going back to 2016 and is currently Director of Operations and Strategic Initiatives at Leidos. And Simona is come down to help us to explain to folks the value of business architecture and the role it's played in her career and the organizations where she's applied it. So Simona, welcome back. Always great to see you. And
thank you. Good to see you, Greg.
It's time flies when we're having fun. It seems a very long time ago. You contributed your first article to the website, but we've gotten a lot of comments, and certainly folks appreciate the insight you share through those articles. Let me ask, in your experience, do you find that organizations understand the value of business architecture, or is it a bit of a learning curve?
Well, Greg, I'll give you the standard consulting response, which is that it depends.
Right.
Some do and some don't. Now, from what I've seen, organizations that are rich in workflows and in business roles, such as insurers, claims adjudicators, lenders, transportation companies, they tend to have a greater appreciation for what business architecture can provide. Mm-hmm. Now, some of them start with a business reference architecture and tailor it to fit their way of doing business. Others develop their own business process models, usually, but not always, in a top-down fashion. Mm-hmm. Now, the goals in many cases are pretty tactical in nature. They want to document their business processes, their way of doing business in a particular line of business. They want to streamline them. They want to automate them. They want to see whether if they purchase a software package, can they just adopt that package, or does it need to be tailored in some way? Mm-hmm. Or do they need to change their processes to fit the workflows in the software package? That's usually a big question, for companies. Right. In some cases, I've seen companies develop capability heat maps, capability roadmaps, and attempt to align the capability roadmaps to the value streams and to system development roadmaps. Now, I've spent most of my career in the government consulting space, where the adoption of enterprise architecture practices was mandated by law through the Klinger-Cohen Act of '96 and through directives issued by the Office of Management and Budget. And as a result of those requirements, federal agencies stood up teams responsible for documenting the enterprise architecture for each agency or bureau or department. And then the private companies providing services to these agencies, they likewise started building their own enterprise architecture capabilities. Now, unfortunately, like with many things that are mandated by law rather than through buy-in at the grassroots level, so to say, these offices have tended to exist in a silo, kind of like an appendix to the IT organization, rather than a true partner, both to the business side and to the IT side. And let me caveat by saying, there are always some exceptions. Now, on the private sector side, despite having some enterprise architects in-house, companies doing business with the government have kind of tended to box in their architects into some very specific and narrow roles, such as you work on contracts, you support our clients, but don't worry about our own internal processes. They're just fine. Or you may be called an enterprise architect, but just focus on system and technical architecture. Or you know how we do things here, so we're going to delegate you to support this Pegasystems implementation or the Salesforce implementation. So, pretty tactical, pretty unidimensional roles. Now, these are all useful roles, obviously, but what's missing here is that element where business architects provide the most value, in my opinion, which is helping develop the strategy and helping link the strategy to execution. Now, what does that mean if you're an organization, a company, and you don't have the business architects to do that very critical function? It means that there's an unspoken assumption that managers can take on business architecture responsibilities,
Right.
even if they don't have the training or the knowledge to do that. And for middle managers in particular who don't have the budgets, don't have the authority to hire external consultants, this poses a challenge because they're supposed to focus on a fairly near time planning horizon. They're supposed to provide or to meet operational goals within the current quarter or the current half a year or the current year. All this time operating in a very complex business environment with lots of moving parts, with matrixed organizations, with networks of interests and counter interests, and working with clients that they themselves have similarly complex organizations. So their managers are forced to be very tactical, and yet at the same time they're expected to be strategic as well, and be able to develop the growth strategy for their group and build the capabilities to support the growth strategy and meet the year after year growth requirements. So, when you think of it this way, it's really no wonder that 50% of new businesses fail within 5 years and 96% within 10 years. So, I'm hoping that by saying this, I'm kind of putting a bug in people's ears about the importance of hiring specialists to help with the business architecture.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that perspective very much. I think, having some structure and knowing that there's a methodology out there that they can apply to their organization, because the business architecture has to obviously be customized to each organization, but having those tools and following that methodology, I think can really, help ensure the success of the organization and being able to meet their mission and objectives.
Absolutely.
So much more. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.